is home to 8 Trident nuclear submarines, and which is the largest concentration of nuclear weapons in the world. Now, the location of the base makes it a prime target because of the missiles, that the nuclear missiles, a prime target in any nuclear war. And the Ground Zero Center is located right next to the base. So the mission of the Ground Zero Center is to resist the Trident nuclear weapon system through peaceful, nonviolent action. And the video that you will see later on in our program will show our most recent action during Mother's Day, when 6 of our nuclear resistor activists blocked the entrance to the base and were cited for blocking traffic in our symbolic closure of the base. But that's for later. First of all, we're going to give you our warm-up act, which is the wonderful Earthlings duo, it's a wonderful music group that hails from Orcas Island in Washington State, and they sing many beautiful songs about peace. Now, we've all heard of the Pentagon's War Room, but the Earthlings duo has a song that imagines what it would be like if the Pentagon had a peace room. So without further ado, I will let David take it away, and this is the Earthlings duo.
We are Sharon and Mike. Sharon Abreu and Michael Hurwitz, the Earthlings duo. I'm trying to get you more in the frame there, kiddo. Okay, so our first song, let's step in now to this, something called The Peace Room. Now, I heard Dennis Kucinich, Democrat, former Representative Dennis Kucinich, describe this concept of a peace room, which would be as important as a war room, and probably actually more important than a war room, because it would address and prevent violence at all levels of society. When the wars have left us broken in a world of greed and fear, when we've reached our end and we have to mend, there's a place and it's right here. The peace to heal our spirits, oh yes, we'll be there soon. A living place, a healing space, step inside the peace room. Its function is to welcome the emergent beings of Earth. Space to safely welcome a planetary birth. So clearly in my vision, I feel its resonance. A field in which we all are one. If we build it, they will come. In the peace room, there's room for all. We share our stories, hear our call. Creativity's exchanged. No one can enter and not feel changed. Its walls extend beyond our sight to a field of endless light, where deepest, highest aspirations bloom. Step inside. We can replicate it anywhere. It resonates through every land in a language we all
can enter and not feel changed. Its walls extend beyond our sight to a field of endless flight, where deepest, highest aspirations bloom. Step inside. Step inside the peace room.
Last night I had The Strangest Dream by Ed McCurdy, 1950. Last night I had the strangest dream I'd ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed I saw a room so full of people making amends, and the paper they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when the paper was all signed and a million copies made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads, and grateful prayers were prayed. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, while swords and guns and uniforms scattered on the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream I'd ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to
Strangest Dream by Ed McCurdy.
So I talk a lot about peace, and I have to be, just put it right out there every single time. I am not the most peaceful person in the world, but I was born in 1963. I was born 8 months before JFK was assassinated. I feel very connected to the peace movement, civil rights movement, and I don't know exactly why, because I was shielded from all of that was happening in the 60s. But when I became aware of it, I just felt so connected to it. And I've been learning how to actually create more peace in myself, because I think I kind of need to do that if I'm going to create peace in the world around me. I mean, I really do think that we're all energy and everything is connected. Everything's affecting everything else in one way or another. So here's a song I wrote a bunch of years ago called Be Peace. It's just a repetitive little song, and we're going to sing it through 3 times. Here we go. I pray for peace in this world, for all people. I pray for peace in this world, for all people. But I know prayer is not enough, not enough. I must be peace. Feel it in my body and soul. Be peace. Fill my heart and mind
Okay, thank you, Earthlings duo. For those that were not here when I started this, the next video we're about to show will be from our most recent action by Ground Zero Center nuclear resistance activists on Mother's Day, when 6 people were cited by the law enforcement for stepping in front of the entrance to the base and symbolically closing this base, which, by the way, holds the most powerful military force on the planet. And those are not my words. Those are the words of Hans Christensen from the Federation of American Scientists. So without further ado, can we show the Mother's Day video, David?
I think so.
In continuing moments of prayer and the power of mothers everywhere, let's take the next 8 minutes in silence to represent the last 8 months of mothers' mourning of murdered children around the world. Let's focus on the children of Gaza. Let's focus on the mothers of Gaza. I invite now to mothers and those others that nurture to say a few words about why you are here. I am here as a nurturer of young children. It's been my career for about 25 years, and I do believe a better world is possible. We do not need to be under the threat of war. We do not need to be under the threat of bullying. There is a better way to problem solve. We can do this. We can learn a better way in the world to raise children who are caring, where we don't have to be under the threat of nuclear arms or any arms that hurt. I am here to dispel the myth that nuclear weapons are a deterrent or that nuclear weapons is what keeps us safe. The opposite of both is what is true, and I am here to bear witness to that.
I am here to abolish nuclear weapons before they abolish us.
Here because even as we stand here, hundreds of men, women, and children are being slaughtered, and no one is doing anything to stop it. And perhaps if that particular state did not have nuclear weapons, other nations might not be so afraid to intervene. But instead, nuclear weapons in this case is permitting wholesale slaughter while the world's leaders sit on their hands. That is evil and unacceptable, and we are here for that reason as well.
Years ago, where I was here with two of my children, my son Ben and my son Tom, and they were about 11 and 8. And in some ways, it's pretty disheartening to see that I'm here 23 years later and doing the same thing, saying the same thing. I guess and now I'm 65. I would like to say that I'm feeling the pressure of time and circumstances. You know, I feel pressure of time for me personally. I can only be walking around and active so many more years. And circumstances, I feel like the pressures of the world, the pressures of war and conflict. I feel like the pressures of declining resources, physical resources that are affecting our environment, financial resources that our company is wasting on law enforcement, and Well, we are. I mean, we are wasting too much money on war. We do not have enough money for education, for housing, for health care. We aren't in a position to welcome the stranger as we're obligated to do as Christian people. We don't have enough money to pay for reparations to the indigenous people whose land we stole, to the black people among us, the descendants of people whose labor we stole. The money is there. The money is there for climate infrastructure, healthcare, housing, food security. The money is there. The money is going to improperly. Our society has made bad choices about how to spend our money. And we need to rethink that, and we need to rethink that right now. Because the world needs the money that the U.S. is wasting on militarism. The money now is going to weapons contractors who are wasting it. You know, and the money is needed. I work in Africa, and people there are starving. It's not just the people in Gaza that are starving and that are suffering from our bombs. We're wasting money on the bombs that are causing havoc over there. We're wasting their infrastructure. We're going to be wasting money to repair the infrastructure that we've destroyed with our own money. It's ridiculous. So that's my speech as a mother on Mother's Day 2024, and I hope I'm not going to be here too many more years making the same stupid speech. Woo!
It was a great speech.
Thank you.
I don't like that our taxes and our money go to murdering our elderly, women, children. So many children are dying of starvation all over the planet right now. Weapons we are using are killing people, innocent people, and I'm not okay with that. And we need change. So the only thing I want for our people is change and to learn how to interact peaceably with each other instead of killing each other.
I am now issuing you a public safety order to disperse or move from this area. You have 5 minutes to disperse or leave by moving back to the roadway shoulder. You have been given a lawful dispersal order to move towards the shoulder. You may now be subject to arrest for disorderly conduct, failure to disperse, or pedestrian in the roadway.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sergeant Dixon of the Washington State Patrol. You are now under arrest at this point for pedestrian in the roadway. It's a civil infraction, okay? I'm going to ask you to go ahead and move towards the shoulder with these troopers. We're going to make sure we pass on the banner to your patriots over here so that it doesn't get damaged as we subject you to arrest you, okay? Each one of these troopers is going to escort you back over towards the shoulder. We'll pass that off and then hold it to the shoulder for citation. Yep. Let's go ahead.
What do you do with the sign?
They're going to give it back to us, hopefully. Thank you. Yep, that's my job. Thank you for keeping it safe. Sergeant Dixon with the Washington State Patrol. You're considered under arrest for citing pedestrian roadway violation. The shoulder, we will be walking back to the other patrol car over here. We're looking for the infraction of pedestrian roadway. I ask that you make that at this point. Escort go over there. We will be cleared back over to the shoulder. Pass off your signs once we get over there.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's about it for time, isn't it, David? We'll see you, I guess, at the quarter till hour.
We are at 5:25 and we're going to some music from Dave Lippman. So I ought to be playing that, aren't I? Let's see, share screen. Here we go.
What would you do if I took all your land while pretending God gave it to me? Look at that bird. Oh, look, I've got your house. I don't care that you've still got the key. Hi, apartheid with a little help from my friends. Bombs and tanks are a little help from my friends. But a mas, but a mas, a mas, a mas, but a mas, but a mas, a mas, a mas. Before their attack, they lived first class. But a mas, a mas, a mas. Would you believe in denial of rights? Yes, I'm certain that it happens all the time. What does the conqueror see through his sights? I can't tell you, but I know it's mine. Oh, I get by evicting the folks, while the White House gives me the okey doke. 76 years of dispossession brings 110 brigades of terror squads. They're followed by rows and rows of ethnic cleansing virtuosos, the cream of the settler colonial band. There were 50 mounted cannon in the battery, thundering, plundering more than e'er before. Terror gangs of every size, destruction they would improvise, raising villages by the score. Mow the lawn, put them on a diet. No travel rights, no right to fish. A perfect petri dish for the development of oppressive technologies to export to other countries that wish to control and immiserate their minorities. Or majorities for that matter. Palestinians are indigenous, and the media gives a hint. Don't say genocide, don't say Palestine. That's not news, that's fit to print. In fact, this is a U.S. occupation, U.S. bucks, U.S. bombs, and UN vetoes. Brooklyn settlers, what the fuck? From the river to the sea is Israel's reality. Look, ma, no Palestine. Uprooting olive trees, replaced with pine trees, make desert bloom. Have you ever heard such sleaze? Taking of hostages, clearly a crime. Freeing 7 million of them would be one of my favorite things. Refugee camps are reservations. It's the same old game. Yes, US and Israel are conquering land thieves, and that's why I feel so bad. Before their attack, they lived first class. But Hamas, 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 which is Spanish for never again.
So it is now, and we are hoping to have Dave Lippman on for discussion 15 minutes from now, together with Elizabeth Murray and hopefully also Ellen Woodsworth. who is part of the group in this next video about a peace caravan that is traveling across Canada. So let me pull up this video.
We've just come back from across Canada.
Thank you.
I woke up this morning with my mind, and it was stay on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind, and it was stay on freedom.
Welcome you all to this amazing day, the beginning of the On to Ottawa Peace Caravan.
Woo! Yeah!
So we're walking for peace. We're talking about demilitarize, decarbonize, and decolonize. And we want to stand and speak out for what's happening around the world and Canada's complicity. And we want to make sure that we shape the agenda for the upcoming election on those issues and those human rights here and around the world.
The goal of the caravan, envisioned by Ellen and us, is to bring a renewed focus on nonviolent resolution of local and international conflicts. The genocide in Gaza, humanitarian crisis in Yemen, Sudan, Haiti, Ukraine, and other parts of the world, rising militarism and growing tensions among nuclear powers, ongoing climate change and biodiversity issues, need for addressing the Truth and Reconciliation Commission recommendations and the report of the murdered Indigenous women and girls and the Two-Spirited people are forcing us to call on the government of Canada and all parliamentarians to work for peace, resolution of conflicts through diplomacy, weapons non-proliferation, and listening to the women and all peace activists from across Canada. Demilitarize, decarbonize, and decolonize.
I want to acknowledge the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations for having me on their territories. I do a lot of work around the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. We actually support families with searches, rallies, candlelight vigils, police support, court support. I was just down in Mexico. I got in yesterday. I went down, I usually go back and forth, not to just perform with my dance group, but to work with the families of the disappeared down there. I've gone back and forth to search with the families of the disappeared, where we found human remains, where we found bodies. This is a huge issue across Canada, and it's not going to stop unless we do something about it, unless we have people like Ellen and you supporting us and raising awareness of this issue.
I think that we need to intersect the issues, make the braid, the sweetgrass braid of militarism, climate change, and colonization. They're totally intertwined. And it's not the fault of us as individuals. This is something we can spark, something like a wildfire. It just goes like crazy and can't be contained. And hope is like that. You never know what's going to spark hope. And I think by saying peace is the direction we want Canada to go in, and we link different cities across the country, coast to coast to coast, in a growing peace movement, because we're not the only ones who are walking or doing actions for peace right now. I've noticed more and more groups are doing peace activities. So if we can, create that spark and that conflagration of the different deep desire for peace and justice and climate change, and help people see that it is the military-industrial complex, that the neoliberal agenda that is manipulating countries and profiting from wars and causing this terrible climate change devastation in Africa, in the north, all over the world. then, and on unceded indigenous lands, then people have a sense of a way to move together and that they're not alone. Because other people are moving, other people wanting peace. That's what hope is. And that's what I want to do.
If we lose this forest, if we savage the land, we might as well be cutting off our own right hand. For we and the earth are one, under the moon, under the sun.
I wrote to Mr. Trudeau a letter 5 years ago for the occasion of the 75th anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He never acknowledged the receipt of that letter. So I decided 5 years later, for the occasion of 80th anniversary, which is coming next year, I wanted to give him another opportunity to think about it and to respond. The most important thing that I pointed out is this. Canada played an important role in the Manhattan Project. The project, top secret project, which produced a nuclear weapon, which was dropped above me, and in Nagasaki. The Canadian scientists were involved in the project. And uranium came from Canada. Uranium came from Great Bear Lake of Northwest Territory. And indigenous people over there were recruited. Those men, on hot summer days, on their bare back, they carried the sack of uranium. And they are the ones who all died. I think it's about time that our Prime Minister should acknowledge Canada's role in the Manhattan Project. Our young people are growing up without knowing their history, honest history. That's not right.
People have had enough with war. They want ceasefire. They want the end of genocide in Palestine. They want to address climate change issues and address social issues all over the world.
I'm coming from Afghanistan. I'm a war victim. I have remained and faced so many challenges in my country. And today I see that chain of conflict is going to Ukraine and now to Gaza, to African countries, and slowly and gradually this is expanding. We need to stop our politicians and their investment in arms, in armed business. They are spending 80% of the world's wealth in war, in the weapon industry, and only 20% remains for humanitarian issues.
This very moment, while we're standing here right now, those arms dealers, thousands of representatives of the world's leading arms dealer companies are gathering at CanSec for the biggest arms dealer convention in Canada. We are calling on people to stand with us and to join not only this action, but future actions until all oppressed people all across the world are liberated from this brutal system.
For we and the earth are one, under the moon, under the sun.
Terrific. I see a lot of similarities in the activities of good people in a couple different countries in North America, despite very different governments in a lot of ways. Elizabeth or Ellen, would you like to comment?
Thank you very much, First World War, for organizing this wave again. It's so important that we get together with each other and find peace and solidarity and give us the strength to realize that our movements are spreading rapidly all around the world. The idea for me of organizing the Ottawa Peace Caravan was that I was noticing certain groups that weren't at the ceasefire demonstrations, and I was thinking, don't get angry, figure out why they're not there and what are their issues. And I realized their issues are healthcare and housing and affordable childcare, and that they want support from refugees and immigrants. And wherever they are in the world, these are issues we need to tie the defense budgets to. We have to say, stop guilting each other about whether we, recycle that piece of plastic, but look at one fighter jet for an hour overhead at 700 gallons of fuel. Tie those issues, tie the Canadian defense budget, which is now going up to 50 billion, and say we could be a peacekeeping country. We could spend that money on these social needs that you so desperately need. And this is what people all over the world want. So it was kind of rooting the call for peace into very tangible issues that we call demilitarize, decarbonize, and decolonize. So that's where the idea came from, and then it just grew and grew to, we stopped at over 17 cities before we finally reached Ottawa and began organizing. And I have a feeling like we could do this just like the Peace Wave. We could start to have these peace walks and tying people's deep-seated fears of helplessness to the tangible things that they could do if they stood up to the defense budgets that are and the military industrial complex that's manipulating countries all over the world.
Absolutely wonderful, tremendous job. You can call it a military budget. You could get paid big money to call it a defense budget. So if you're not getting paid big money, you don't have to. There's a similar walk that we had on earlier in this 24-hour peace wave going on from Maine to Washington, D.C. to join us in unwelcoming NATO to Washington, D.C. in early July, and everyone from Canada is invited to go to NoNATOYesPeace.org and join us. Elizabeth, did you want to comment?
Absolutely. I just want to second what Ellen just said, and also to comment that this peace wave that World Beyond War sponsors is really wonderful because it makes us aware of all the different peace movements around the world. And I have to say that we draw energy from each other. It's very inspiring. And I think that peace really is contagious. And I also want to mention, since we're talking about peace walks, that the order of monks that are attached to Ground Zero, the Nippon Zanmyo Hoji monks, always do a peace walk which culminates every year at Ground Zero when we celebrate we commemorate the US bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This year, that will be on Monday, August the 5th. But I believe the peace walk this year is relatively short. It's 8 miles. But if anyone at all around the world would like to join us, we welcome you to come to Ground Zero. You can camp. It's almost 4 acres of beautiful forested land. We have a beautiful facility there. You can take part in the peace walk. And we have quite a number of other activities. I don't want to monopolize your time, but David, can I go over a couple of the things we have going on this summer?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have more minutes now than I expected, and we've typically had dramatically fewer. If anyone has questions for Elizabeth or for Ellen or on any other topic, or for World Beyond War President Kathy Kelly or Vice President Liz Remerswall, now would be the time to speak up, put it in the chat, raise your hand, do something. Go
There's
ahead.
also an Eastern Canada Peace Walk that Voice of Women for Peace are organizing in September as well.
Very good. Let us know and we'll share it around everywhere. Put a link in the chat. Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about our really exciting summer lineup for peace activities at Ground Zero. Saturday, July 27th, we will have an event called Boats by Bangor, which will be a flotilla of peace boats sailing down the Hood Canal until we reach the naval base Kitsap Bangor. And the peace flotilla this year will be led by the world famous peace boat, the Golden Rule, which is now on the West Coast. And the Golden Rule, of course, has a storied history of challenging the nuclear tests in the Marshall Islands. And the boat came into disrepair and was revived by the Veterans for Peace. So our website is www.gzcenter.org if you're interested. Also on July the 30th, we have our annual Peace Fleet in Seattle, which is our annual protest against the glorification of militarism that's embodied in the Seattle Seafair. And we have a flotilla of small craft. And this year, of course, we'll be joined by the Golden Rule. But everybody can bring their boats out and fly their flags. And it's quite a festive and feisty little protest event. And then Monday, August the 5th, Ground Zero will hold their annual action at the naval base to commemorate the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Again, we welcome everybody to come and participate in civil disobedience at the base with the goal of raising awareness about the danger of nuclear weapons, especially at this base where we have 8 Trident nuclear submarines. And again, the peace walk, the 8-mile peace walk led by the Nippon Zanmyo-Hoji will culminate at Ground Zero on that day. And then August 6th, there is the annual lantern ceremony commemorating the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings in downtown Seattle. And I just want to say one more thing. I don't wish to monopolize, but at Ground Zero, we also have Rising, a beautiful peace pagoda. After 40 years of obstruction by the county of Kitsap, they suddenly have allowed a construction permit. And by next year, it should be finished. And the monks have just come back from Japan, where they've gotten some beautiful steeples and other sort of details for the pagoda. And hopefully at next year's Peace Wave, we can talk more about this. But it will be a very exciting symbol for peace by the monks located right next to the naval base. So we're very excited about that, and we welcome everybody to come and join us at Ground Zero.
Wonderful. We will share all of these events with everyone we can. There are no questions in the chat, and there is nobody raising their hand. We have our co-founder of World Beyond War, David Hartso, on, as well as our president and vice president. I wonder if anyone would like to comment on what they've seen thus far in this Peace Wave, and then I hope maybe I can fit in another short video before the end of the hour. Kathy Kelly, our president, do you want to?
Thank you, David. And I also noticed David Hartso's hand is up, so I'll just be short. But Elizabeth, I noticed during the video when you spoke about why Mother's Day and the lineup outside of the base was important to you, you mentioned that Israel is a nuclear armed state, and because of its possession of nuclear weapons, it can, in a sense, bully or threaten other countries. And I just wondered if you'd want to say more about that. I feel very conscious of the Shimon Peres Nuclear Research Institute in the Negev Desert, and I believe that that's a place where nuclear weapons have been developed and stored.
Yes, thank you, Kathy, for picking up on that. And that actually occurred to me very spontaneously while we were there, at the action. But it's so dangerous because, as you know, when Iran struck Israel not too long ago, they struck very close to Israel's nuclear facility in the Negev. And, there is the very real danger of a nuclear conflagration if Israel goes to war against Lebanon and we get Iran in the picture. And the other thing I want to say about this is because Israel possesses nuclear weapons, they've of course engendered an arms race in the region. And it's not such a secret that Saudi Arabia is very interested in obtaining a nuclear capability. And in fact, they have been working with Pakistan on that. And I think they've actually received a very discreet but not so secret green light from the United States as well. So this is really a very disturbing development in the region. And of course, it probably has never been worse in terms of the possibility that nuclear weapons, especially the smaller so-called, I think they are called W-76, the smaller nuclear weapons could be used in the region. We just have no adults in the room at the moment in terms of leadership I have to say in Washington and in Tel Aviv. It's really, really very scary. Ellen, you look like you want to say something, so I'd like to defer to you. You look like you have some comment that you'd like to make.
Oh, I did type it in the chat. Thank you, Elizabeth, for all your amazing work. I just wanted to say that Setsuko Thero is a hibakusha, a survivor of the bombing of Hiroshima. And she's calling on all of us to get our municipal governments to do something, not this summer, but the summer afterwards, the 80th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I do think we need to talk about military spending by our governments, so-called. It is military spending. I was just referring to it as defense because that's how it is in the budget. And I wanted to compare our national budget to social needs. So I think we need to, there's that ICANN's recent list of how much money the US is spending, Canada's spending, China's spending, et cetera, and showing it's 51 billion by the United States, it's about 10 billion by China. And really, I think the environmental movement is so powerful right now, but its leadership isn't willing to speak out and show the connection between militarism and climate change. And I think that's a path for us to take that would be very, very strong, is to get to the members of the climate change movement and show them those connections, because for many things are just too far away from them and they have to find out a way to link to their daily lives. And I think that link of climate change and militarism is a link that we could all build on.
I wonder if our World Beyond War's Vice President, Liz Remmerswall, has a question for Ellen or for Elizabeth, or any observations on what you've seen thus far. Hearing none, I apologize. Kathy had mentioned David Hart. So David, did you have a question or comment?
Yes. Thanks to everyone here that's on the program. It's been very inspiring so far, and I'm sure it will be for the next whatever many 16, 18 hours to hear what people are doing to try to end war and help build peace really all over the world. And I also wanted to mention that on August 6th, which is Hiroshima Day, at Livermore Nuclear Weapons Labs, we are also going to be doing an action at 9 o'clock in the morning in Livermore, California. It's one of the two places the United States is actually developing and modernizing our nuclear weapons. And we will also be doing civil disobedience. and people are certainly welcome to join us. You can look at Tri-Valley Cares on the web to find out more about it. And in terms of the connection between the environmental movement and the peace movement, I highly recommend the book by Tim Wallace called Warheads to Windmills, Preventing Climate Catastrophe and Nuclear War, which really makes the connections not only in terms of the money, but the jobs and the skills could be converted. And then I had a question. I may have missed this if it already happened, but if Ellen could tell us more how you have really gotten the unions involved in Canada, which has been very inspiring to me.
I wish. In Ontario, specifically in Toronto and some in Quebec, the unions have been very engaged because that is where the plants are that are creating some of the nuclear parts that are being sent to the US and then shipped to Israel. So those unions have got involved. Part of the reason I organized the caravan is that they were one of the sectors. I looked, where's the women's movement? Where's the queer movement? Where's the labor movement? Where's the climate change movement at the ceasefire rallies? I saw the individuals, but I didn't see the organizations. So that's when I thought, okay, where are they focusing their energy and how do we tie it to them so they move on it? Because unfortunately, they're not moving the way they should be moving, and they're going to be critical in the next federal election that's coming up in about a year and a half in Canada. So that, I think, is the work we have to do, is how to pose our issues in a way that connects to their leadership and their membership.
Sorry, isn't that just now a deeper mystery? Like, you not only got unions involved, but got specifically the unions that are making the weapons involved, which would be typically the last unions to get involved, right?
I think everybody is looking for something to do. People are so afraid in so many levels of their being that they're looking for something to do. So our responsibility as organizers is to figure out how to make those links to what those things are that they feel safe that they can be part of. And they're going to be part of in different ways. We don't all have to be on the streets. We have to figure out different ways people can engage.
McGregor, Eddie, I know you've unmuted yourself many minutes gone by. Were you trying to say something?
I just wanted to say that the students in their Gaza occupations went straight to the core of profiteering, exposing the profiteering of the companies that drive war. And those are the same companies that are going to make money on the replacement ICBM, the Sentinel. The links are not hard to make. It's the same war profiteer. If weapons are your product, promoting war as your marketing strategy is driving both. So I think we can make the links, and I see them being made before me. And I've never been so afraid and so full of hope at the same time. Thank you.
I'm gonna give up the idea of showing another video, but in 3 minutes we are going to move on to the next hour of material in this Peace Wave. Meantime, I see that Dave Mullenix has his hand up. So could you please unmute, Dave?
I just want to thank you all. A brilliant presentation regarding the military-industrial complex and their production facilities. Long time ago, a friend of mine was up in the Bay Area in front of one of the facilities. I can't remember the facility right now, but every day she was meditating and fasting for peace, asking the folks who are making the nuclear bombs and the weapons in that area to just stop doing it. And she did it for quite a while. I don't care how many days it went on, but eventually she just gave up and she passed out flyers telling people what she was doing. A couple of years later, she's doing a presentation in Los Angeles, and one of the guys came up and said, "I saw you doing that whole thing." And she said, well, thanks for letting me know. I said, no, you understand. I quit because of what you showed me. I quit because you showed me what I was doing, and I didn't really put it all together. And so thank you. So there is, just because people are in unions, they still have families. They still have an understanding. And so I think that what you did, Ellen, is amazing. And we have to realize there are people there who would rather do something else, but it's the job that they've got. So I thought I would share that really good story with you.
It's always useful to tell people one of the thousands and thousands of pieces of evidence that they never know what they're accomplishing, and they're often accomplishing much more than anyone is telling them immediately, because people are so fond of getting depressed and despairing over things. Elizabeth, you're waving your hand. We got 1 minute or less.
I just wanted to thank Dave for that, and to mention very quickly that the same thing has happened in the years that Ground Zero has been handing out leaflets at the base. We have a handful of members of the Ground Zero Center who literally quit their jobs because of the messages, the peaceful, sort of non-confrontational messages. Many of them, it struck their conscience. And one of our members is actually the former commander of a Navy attack submarine. So yes, thank you, Dave. And it does help. You never know where your outreach is going to go.
Well, I want to thank everybody for a wonderful, educational, and inspiring hour of the 24. We're going to move on to the next hour, whichever one it may be. And we're going to stick with the North American continent and begin with a very short video from our friends in Portland, Oregon, and what they have been up to on the street lately. Let me click video and see if I can't find it.
Raytheon and Lockheed make the weapons used to kill. NATO members buy them and the people pay the bill. Right? We can't afford good housing. We can't afford health care. We can't afford clean water, 'cause NATO left us bare. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go, so the people can live in peace. We say NATO! We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go, so the people can live in peace. Washington made NATO to enforce its global rule. Now it's bombing pipelines where allies once got fuel. NATO domination brings hunger, war, and fear. But there's cracks in the foundation, and NATO's end is near. Remember what happened at Jericho? The trumpets began to sound. Joshua commanded the people to shout, and the walls came tumbling down. Here we go! We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go, so the people can live in peace. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go, so the people can live in peace. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go, so the people can live in peace. One last time. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go, so the people can live in peace.
If you didn't recognize that music or read the captions, that was Ben Grosscup, who was on earlier for you marathon viewers with Lucy Murphy and others, and they will be doing that song and others at the No NATO Yes Peace events coming up in Washington, D.C. in July. That's our theme song for these actions. We're going to go now to another song from Dave Lippman, who we heard one song from earlier as well. If I can find it.
Organization regularly works with the UN and other nonprofits around the world to address human rights. Why are they silent about the Palestinians that are being murdered in this moment? No crime in genocide! No crime in genocide!
We're here at the gala.
We are here at the gala
of Outright International.
of Outright International,
Which says it supports
queer
rights around the globe.
queer rights around the globe.
Its claims are hollow. Outright has failed to stand up against genocide. I do not know how many of my family members have been killed. My grandparents, who are indigenous to Palestine, who were kicked out of their homes and exiled.
This is your fight too. Wake up, this is your fight too. To make statements against the atrocities committed by Israel, to leverage its status at the UN, to advocate for a ceasefire, to demand humanitarian aid into Palestine, to divest from any funders that are working with Israel. That includes Google, Barclays, and World Bank.
Silence is violence. Outright International has failed to stand up for queers in Palestine, for the queer faculty in the U.S. who have been the ones fired and attacked for teaching about Zionist genocide. It has not stood up for queer students who have been attacked by cops and Zionists and MAGAs. And we all know that there can be no queer liberation. Without liberation for all. To determine whether or not you are against genocide, because of whether or not you think that a group of people may or may not support your identity is fucking bananas. What the actual literal fuck? The Creative Communities for Peace, organized by Stand With Us, a Zionist genocidal organization. Creative Community for Peace letters are signed by anti-woke right-wingers who fight against DEI, who fight against abolitionist movements. I am appalled by the state of humanity today. I am also invigorated by movements like these. When a human rights organization stands aside during genocide, it is endorsing genocide. For our queer siblings, for our queer ancestors, goddamn humanity. I and we will continue acting up, fighting back, and making fucking noise, until Palestine is free.
Silence is violence. Children are starving. The government is lying.
Okay, so super sharp observers will have noticed that that was not a song. We are now going to move on to a video put together by World Beyond War's Canada organizer, Rachel Small, about the arms embargo on Israel campaign in Canada, after which we are going to bring on live some guests from Jews Say No to Genocide in Canada with some videos and discussion that they have to share. But let's go to the arms embargo campaign video.
Hello, my name is Rachel Small. I'm the Canada organizer with World Beyond War. I am super glad to be able to join the Peace Wave. I have been asked to share a little bit about the Arms Embargo Now campaign, which basically started in some ways years ago, where I've been looking into what does the Canadian arms trade looks like? What are the companies across Canada that are manufacturing weapons, that are sending them all over the world? So I've been looking into that for a few years. And then in October, like many people, I began really focusing on understanding Canada's role in supplying weapons specifically to the state of Israel and trying to really dig into what that has looked like. Okay, what can we do here in our communities, in our towns that will actually have a real impact and will actually like make a difference in terms of a tangible way to stand in solidarity with people in Palestine, and really taking our lead from Palestinian trade unions who said that the number one thing they wanted to see people in solidarity around the world do is end the flow of weapons to Israel. So it started with that kind of a research effort, and then so much has happened over the past few months that I really want to show you folks a little bit about. So I'm going to start by showing a video that we put out recently that sort of summarizes what has been going on and what this campaign has looked like. So I'll share that with you now.
Since Israel's latest assault on Gaza began in October, Palestine Solidarity organizers have zeroed in on Canada's arms trade with Israel as a key site of struggle. More than 50 companies have been identified across the country that manufacture weapons, components, and military technology for export to Israel. When confronted about this complicity, government officials misled the public.
And we have not emitted any new export permits since October 7th.
And we have sent, since October 7, non-lethal equipment, including night vision goggles and protective gears. And that was through Canadian companies.
Canadian companies produce vital parts of the fighter jets, warships, drones, and attack helicopters that are decimating Gaza right now. In the span of 2 months, Canada approved more arms export permits for Israel than they had in any year for the past 3 decades. At the same time, Canada has been signing new contracts to purchase weapons and military equipment from Israel, directly funding Israel's war machine.
We want justice, you say how? We want justice, you say how? End the occupation now!
Communities across Canada have written, phoned, and petitioned our MPs.
Palestine will be free!
We have held teach-ins, community meetings, and town halls. We have flyered, marched, picketed, and rallied at every government office you can name.
We call on Mayor Olivia Chow to be an advocate for a two-way arms embargo on Israel.
This collective power forced the Trudeau government to promise to end the approval of new military export permits. But they have yet to formalize this policy or stop the flow of arms that they had already approved. A full arms embargo will stop the flow of all military goods, both to and from Israel. It will close the loophole that allows military goods to reach Israel untracked and unreported via the U.S. And it will stop the funneling of our tax dollars into Israel's military industry.
Not another nickel, not another dime. No more arms for genocide.
Movement pressure is working. But the government of Canada has refused to act decisively to save Palestinian lives and impose a full arms embargo on Israel. We've had no choice but to escalate. People of conscience from coast to coast are taking action to shut down ports, rails, highways, and weapons factories.
All three Harris! Shut it down! We will not let it go! Not yet!
Occupying their university campuses, disrupting the arteries of the economy, and forcing our government's hand to stop the flow of weapons, money, and legitimacy to the Israeli war machine. Let's do this.
So as you've seen, there have been just many efforts ballooning and growing all across the country, and people showing a real willingness to escalate, to say, look, we're asking the Canadian government, we're meeting with our reps, we're doing all of these things, and this is not working. And so what can we do to actually interrupt the arms trade ourselves? So that video covered a lot of things in a short period of time. So maybe I'll just zoom in for a bit and show you a detailed look at what these weapons blockades actually look like, what some of the confronting politicians has looked like, as a way of giving sort of a bigger picture of how this is actually played out across the country, and how we have been so successful in really putting the heat on our government. And as you saw in that video, moving them from first saying, oh, there is no arms trade, then saying, oh, it's only non-lethal things, to then, in fact, putting in place a pause on approving all new weapons permits. We're not stopping there with the pause. We are going to push them to ensure that they're not just pausing approving new permits, that they're actually stopping the flow of all weaponry they'd previously approved, and that they're not buying any weaponry from Israel as well. All of that is included in the real demand for an arms embargo. But we have to acknowledge that we have made significant gains here. And we know people around the world have been following what's been happening in Canada, and trying to get their government to follow in the footsteps. So let's zoom in a little bit, and I'll show you some footage from the very first big weapons blockade that we did in Canada back in October, outside of a weapons company facility called Incus.
Here in response to a call from the Palestinian trade union movement for workers around the world to do what they can to end the flow of arms to Israel. And that's why we're here outside of Incus, which is a global security and defense firm with links to the Israeli Defense Forces.
So that was the first weapons blockade that we organized. It was a very confidential, secretly planned action. We individually reached out and invited every person who was there. Nothing was shared online. Things were only shared with secure channels. That way we knew that when we, as over 100 people showed up, as you could see, very, very early before dawn, that no one knew we were coming, and we were able to successfully disrupt the entire morning shift at that factory. And I'm going to show just a quick news clip now that highlights the type of impact these actions can have on a company like this.
Here in Toronto, several people were arrested after a demonstration this morning outside a business that supplies Israel's military. Organizers say the demonstration was about the human rights of Palestinian people. They are calling on Canadian companies to stop arming the Israeli Defense Forces. Delma Nokdak has the story.
Dozens of people gathered outside, blocking entry into the global headquarters of Incus, a Toronto-based company specializing in armored vehicles and aerospace and defense.
So we're here to sell Incus, which has bragged about supplying the most command and control units to the Israeli government than any other company. And we're here to say Canada needs to stop arming Israel.
According to materials from Israel's Ministry of Defense, Incus does supply vehicles to military bases, law enforcement agencies, and government institutions, and has been in business for over 30 years. And one of the executives was on scene here today and said that the demonstration was very disruptive and harmful to his business.
We are a Jewish family. We targeted number one because of the Jews. Just shows the rise of anti-Semitism in this country.
We're lovers of peace, lovers of social justice. We oppose all forms of racism, including anti-Semitism. This is about a company's complicity.
Last year, Canada exported over $21 million worth of military goods to Israel. In a statement, Incus's chairperson writes in part, being primarily a manufacturing business, every minute of production time counts. We have lost hours. Our business has been unnecessarily disrupted. Our employees no longer feel safe in the workplace.
This situation is causing our business to lose money, to lose profits. Some people are not able to work today. It's bad to see. In today's economical situation, our country has to spend resources to uphold the law.
Incus is a private business. Toronto police say demonstrators were asked to leave and that 5 people were arrested for trespassing and released with provincial offense notices. Organizers say 7 people were arrested and provided a copy of the ticket issued with a $65 fine. They also say it won't be business as usual for companies supplying Israel's military. Delma Nokdak, CBC News, Toronto.
So that was just some of the, frankly, tons of media coverage that we got that day, and also that actions across the country that have been targeting weapons producers have been getting. These weapons factory blockades have been just sort of one tack in the broader campaign to stop the Canada-Israel arms trade. We've also been working with lawyers who have filed various types of lawsuits, including suing the Canadian government at the federal court for not following its own laws about the arms trade. So there's been sort of a legal approach. There has been, as I mentioned previously, like a big kind of research approach to uncover the truth about this extremely secretive like business and political decisions. There have been people doing lots of local organizing, targeting their own government representatives, but then also there has been a significant effort to target the decision makers directly. So I'm going to show a video right now showing a member of the Toronto World Beyond War chapter confronting Canada's Minister of War, Bill Blair.
Because it is going to require significant new investment in defense.
I'm standing up here today, I'm interrupting you because there can be no business as usual given the Canadian government's ongoing complicity in the genocide of the Palestinian people.
Let her speak, please. Please let her speak.
How can the Canadian government claim to be committed to ending the violence in Gaza when it continues to ship weapons to and from Israel and to actively collaborate with the Israeli Defense Forces.
Let her speak.
Under your leadership, Minister Blair. No, I will not have a conversation after. It is no business as usual. Under your leadership, Minister Blair, the government has since October announced millions in new purchases of Israeli weaponry for the Canadian military. Not only is it unconscionable to buy weapons self-advertised and battle-tested in Gaza, but it is these purchases that are funding the genocidal attack on Gaza. The Israeli government has made it clear that arms sales are central to funding their slaughter in Gaza. In purchasing weapons from Israel, you, Minister Blair, are using Canadian taxpayer dollars to fund a genocide.
You trespass property.
Yes,
Do you have
I
any
take
property
my-
here that
yes,
you
I
will
have
take? I'll
that.
take it. Okay. This one?
Yeah.
What about that one? Is that yours?
I'll take hers.
Okay, are you with
There
it?
can be no business as
Yeah?
usual
Okay.
while the Canadian government is complicit in a genocide. Canadian people are not with you, even though a military company is with you. Colts may support you, but the Canadian people do not support genocide.
One under arrest.
So this is just one of many examples of really brave people of conscience, refusing to allow these people who are deeply complicit in the slaughter of thousands of Palestinians continue to give their talks hosted by weapons companies at fancy locations in the biggest cities of this country. Or frankly, people have been preventing these ministers and their members of parliament from having dinner in their neighborhood without being forced to answer to their constituents. And this tactic has been really powerful. And we're seeing the ways that the Canadian government is squirming as a result. This campaign is continuing. As I mentioned earlier, we have forced the government to move, but certainly not far enough. So recently, we got together with allies across the country to formally launch the Arms Embargo Now campaign. We have seen over 400 orgs sign on, including some of the largest unions and churches and nonprofits and human rights and environmental advocacy orgs in the country. And we are asking our members of parliament to sign on. Over 40 have done so to date. So we have pushed many to endorse the demand for a full arms embargo on Israel, but we are continuing that push. And maybe just to show one more thing, this was a day of action that we held just a few days ago, last Thursday. And as you can see here, there were 45 simultaneous actions across the country in almost every province and territory demanding an arms embargo now. So some of these looked like bigger protests at the office of their representatives, those who hadn't yet signed on to the demand. Others were smaller, but all just a really powerful way for people to push their representatives to take a stand and to be on the right side of history. As you can see here, people joined from literally all over the country, from up in the Yukon and the Northwest Territories, very, very far north to islands off of the west coast of the country and all across to the east coast. So this is a campaign that is going to be continuing until we achieve a full arms embargo on Israel. And thank you for giving me some time to share an update about this work that we have been doing here.
So that was Rachel Small, Canada organizer for World Beyond War, which works in Canada with quite a number of wonderful allied organizations, including Jews Say No to Genocide. And for the final half hour of part 5 of the 24-hour Peace Wave, we are privileged to have with us Louise Smith and Shale Kilroy. I hope I'm saying everything correctly. I will turn it over to you, and you can let me know if I should click play on a video.
There's many of us here.
Many of you. Introduce yourselves if you want. The floor is yours.
Hello, we're so pleased to be here today for this incredible global event. We are here in Tkaronto, the place colonially known as Toronto, Canada. For thousands of years, Tkaronto has been the traditional land of many nations, including the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit. This land is governed by the Dish with One Spoon Covenant. This agreement speaks about sharing the resources of this place as though we are all eating out of one dish with one spoon. That means passing the spoon forward cleaner than we got it and making sure there's enough in the dish to go around. We, along with many others, are Jews Say No to Genocide, a coalition of progressive, social justice-oriented Jewish organizations, Jewish members of racial justice and anti-war organizations, and Jewish community members. We plan actions to draw attention to our key demands: a permanent ceasefire, an end to the siege on Gaza, an end to the Israeli occupation, and an end to Canadian complicity in Israel's war crimes. We want to share with you a video compilation of some actions that have happened in Toronto since the attacks on Gaza started in October. Is it possible for us to share the video from our screen?
I can play it or you can play it, whichever you prefer.
Okay, great.
In October, it became obvious that there are many thousands of Jews in Toronto who were already seeing the way almost instantly our grief was being weaponized against Palestinians by the Israeli state, but also within Canada. And I think there was just this strong visceral need to say no and to reject that and to be able to stand up as Jewish people and stand against Israeli war crimes and to call for a permanent ceasefire, to call for a halt to all Canadian military aid and arms sales to Israel, to demand an end to the occupation, to demand a just and lasting peace. These are demands that certainly other groups were making, but it suddenly became clear we had to do this together as Jews in this city right now. Must have a Jewish presence to interrupt the narrative that Jewish safety rests on the oppression of another people. Like, we cannot have that happen. So we planned our first action and it was beautiful. And our goal was simply to bring out as many Jewish people as possible to say, this violence will not happen in our names. We are deeply committed to the liberation of Palestine as well as fighting anti-Semitism. Jewish safety is not in opposition to Palestinian safety. And that action, I think we got 500 people out to the corner of Yonge and Bloor and we shut down the intersection for an hour. And once we did that, I think it became clear to us that there was a bigger role to play for Jews Say No to Genocide. Since then, we've been organizing pretty much an action a week, which is a little bit maybe too much, but we do feel the need for Jews to take a really strong position as our trauma and our religion and our culture is being used to inflict violence on Palestinians.
We are inviting all Canadians not only to keep showing up the way each and every one of you have. We are also asking you and asking everyone you know. We are asking all Canadians to use your buying power to support the people of Canada. Do not spend your money on grants to support genocide and Israel. We need to stop normal life. Normal life has to stop so that Palestinian children can be free and stop dying, so that the hostages can be free and stop dying.
Terrific video. The audio was very good for about the first half of it, and the audio got worse and worse. I don't know if that's built into the video or it would be better for me to play it directly in Zoom. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we can, I don't know, should we
figure that for the next one? Next time you share screen, share audio as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Should I
Yeah.
keep going? All right. At the University of Toronto in downtown Toronto, an encampment was set up in the early morning hours of May the 2nd. Students have now been there for 52 days. The Jews Say No to Genocide Coalition supports this encampment, and members spend a lot of time there helping out and participating in programs. And we're going to give you a video tour of it. Now, do you have that video or should we do that?
Sorry, I have all the videos and would be happy to share it if you think the audio might work better that way.
Yeah,
So,
we can try that. Yeah.
Let's try that.
let's try it. Make sure I've got the right one. I think it's this one, and tell me if I'm wrong.
Like originally when we came in at like 5 a.m. We had like 55 tents, and we kind of just like set them up in a circle, and then we set the kitchen up like immediately in the middle. It's definitely grown a lot, and we've shifted around a few times to accommodate everyone and all of the things that we're doing. So.
Let's keep in mind what we're here for. We're here for Gaza. We're here for Rafah. We're here for all of Palestine.
Folks who have a friend, you know, they put their tents near each other, or now, like, you know, for example, like the people who work in the solar tent, you know, their tents are nearby. There's some women here who are Muslim and wanted kind of like a women's only corner, so that's been set up over there. So yeah, kind of just to accommodate everyone's needs. There was a prof that taught their Zoom class from here. There's a couple students who have taken like midterms from here, from their tents. So
you've slept here every single night?
So I've gone home 4 or 5 times. Yeah, there's not that much stuff. So yeah, welcome to our library. Over here we have our Indigenous history and our Black history shelf, and then on top of it we also have our sign-out log.
When the campus started, someone donated this tent, and people started donating books.
And yesterday we just logged our 500th books.
Are those children's books in
Yes.
there? Do a lot of kids come through the campus?
Yes, a lot. Parents bring their children here, and they love to come to this tent to either color and read or just chill. So when I saw that this encampment was happening, I contacted one of the organizers because I knew them personally. and came on the second day, set up a tent, and have been here ever since. So we have like a range of snacks. It's like a whole grocery store, like, and we store it depending on like granola bars, breakfast, and people have just like been donating like hot food, but there's always like snacks throughout the day and juice boxes. Here's the inventory of snacks that we have. Yogurt. So it's like crackers, biscuits, all the juice boxes are over here. We tend to do like an inventory run or like check every 2-3 days just because there's an overwhelming amount of supplies. These power the generators that we use to charge all of our phones, all of the power banks, the many power banks we have. We do have like bigger generator or like bigger power banks that someone takes home every night and charges at their house to charge like the speakers, the megaphones, things like that. So this is like the extra donation. It's like it's just bags of toilet paper. At Heart House there's a gym, so there's showers there. There's also like other gyms on campus that people have been showering at. But you know, of course folks are free to go in and out, and we encourage it to make sure folks like go home and get their rest, take some days off. We're in it for the long haul. So people have, you know, of course, gone home to shower and stuff. So that's the care tent to decompress, to, you know, get out of the sun, but also relax a little bit. There's like art in there. There's books for folks to read. We also have counselors who are on site for people who, you know, need support. We also have grief counselors, of course, for the Palestinian students who are grieving the loss of their loved ones and their family members, and simultaneously doing this work and being here at this encampment. And so, yeah, that's just like a space for people to go and kind of decompress a bit. Our coffee station set up here. The faculty very graciously every morning bring us coffee from a local coffee shop, which is very kind, and the coffee shop loves doing our business because it's very expensive. Yeah, we decide to store all our garbage. There's actually on-campus gardens, so a faculty member that we work with runs and helps manage some of those. So we've been actually taking almost all of our compost to them for their garden, so they're really happy about that. We have our medical tent over here. We have a donation list on our Instagram that we update quite regularly, or we can't just like call up one person to like, you know, go to Canadian Tire and like get you know, a few of them. Of course, you know, seeing what's happening to students across Canada and Calgary and Alberta, and you know, across the US, just, you know, police when they clear encampments in general, right? It's not just students. They do so quite violently, and so we want to make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe, which is why we had requested some of those supplies and stuff, just to make sure that people are safe.
Terrific video.
Thank you. So right now in Toronto, it's 6:30 p.m. on a Saturday. And so we want to share a Jewish ritual with you that's called Havdalah. So in the Jewish calendar, days begin at nightfall, and every holiday starts as the sun sets and lasts until sunset the next day. The Jewish Sabbath starts after sundown on Friday nights, and there are rituals associated with the start of Shabbat, including saying a blessing while lighting 2 Shabbat candles, and then a blessing on wine or grape juice, and a blessing over braided egg bread, which is known as challah. And once Shabbat starts, Judaism teaches that the day should be for rest, study, connection with community, and celebration. When there are 3 stars visible in the night sky on Saturday, and it once again gets dark, Jewish tradition recognizes this time with a ritual known as Havdalah. The word Havdalah is Hebrew for separation and refers to the verbal declaration made at the end of Shabbat to mark the end of the holy day and separate it from the mundane period that follows, which is the rest of the week.
Havdalah is one of 3 Jewish rituals that are classified as alterations of the flesh. Jewish teachings say that this ritual opens a portal to quite literally alter us and change us. The ritual engages our senses: smell, taste, touch, song. We use all of ourselves in this ritual as we move from one state of holiness to another. As people who have been fighting and raging and grieving and disrupting and organizing direct actions, building relationships of solidarity, doing everything that we know how to stop this current genocide in Gaza. We turn towards our ancestors and towards our ancient spiritual teachings to resource ourselves in this work and to find templates for how to navigate change and uncertainty, how to separate ourselves from that which we have learned but is no longer working towards new and expansive possibilities, how to separate ourselves from violent and constricted colonial logics and move towards relationships, towards trust, intimacy, connection. So tonight, as this peace wave moves around the world, we want to share this ritual with you. And we'll start by lighting the braided candle with many wicks. And we'll, as we light, we'll sing a tune, a classic Havdalah tune. Please feel free to hum along or sing along if you know the words, or even if you don't. Stay on mute though.
Tonight, when we look at this candle of many pieces woven together, it's a fitting reflection of this moment where we are joined together in our commitment to peace, even though we are all coming to it in different ways and from different places. It shows that we maintain the work we do separately, but that we are joined together in creating the light that guides our work. There's a story that is told as one explanation for why we make a blessing on fire at Havdalah. The story is that when Adam, the first person and alone in the world, became terrified when darkness set in for the first time. He thought that the darkness would engulf him, consume him completely. But then he was inspired to strike two stones against each other, and he created a spark. At that moment, he rejoiced at this exceptional, world-changing creation. There are so many tragedies in the world right now. Sometimes it feels like the darkness will overwhelm us all, but there are also so many candle wicks being lit. People all over the world who are finding ways to create fire, to burst through the despair with determination. We resist giving in to darkness. We find each other and work within our communities to bring light to them, to show that there are other ways of being in this world that are possible.
The next piece of the ritual is about awakening our senses. If it's possible, now is the time to go and get something fragrant. It could be some herbs from your kitchen, some plants from your garden, the sweat from your palms after marching in the streets, the Sharpie from your protest signs, the fragrance of togetherness. We take a collective moment to smell something powerful, to bring it into our bodies, to share the moment of sensory experience together. May we continue to remember each other. May we continue to remember our bodies. May this moment remind us the importance of reaching towards one another, of our interconnectedness across and beyond time and space. May we remember that our liberation work is connected to the land and waters that hold us in all of our struggle and in all of our love.
What happened to the sound?
Okay. We had a small fire smoke alarm, but we're back.
Okay.
Next, we circle our hands around the flames. The tradition tells us that we want to be able to see the light of the flame reflect on our fingernails, bringing the flame towards our hearts.
Now we bless the wine. We hold a cup of grape juice or wine high and we say, "Blessed are you, God, Goddess, speaker of justice, you of many names, who separates the sacred from the mundane, but continues to weave us together." Just anyone can read the next line.
May we continue to transform together.
May we continue to move through change together.
May we deepen our relationships as our commitment to justice deepens.
May all of our ancestors be braided into our work.
May we move with love from this moment through every moment that follows. And may every moment that follows bring us closer to the just world we need.
Amen.
Amen.
So we're going to show one final video. It is from one of the Shabbat services at the University of Toronto's People's Circle for Palestine. It includes a guest speaker, Naomi Klein, who is an author, activist, and University of Toronto alumnus. And do you have the link for that one?
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for creating this space of slowness and contemplation. The horror moves so quickly, and we need space to feel. I think that's part of how we stay in this struggle, and holding each other when we need to fall apart. We don't want to be movement robots, right? That doesn't build healthy movements. So thank you for doing this work, this beautiful multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-faith alliance. You know, I see this as part of the Jewish, it's part of the Jewish faith, and it's also part of the Jewish responsibility. It is part of living by the pledge of never again. So I talked earlier, I don't want to repeat myself. I went down memory lane and talked about how when I was here as an undergraduate, just a couple months into my time at U of T as a first year, I went to my first student demonstration where we occupied the office of the president of the university and demanded that the university divest from apartheid South Africa, from companies invested in apartheid South Africa. And the weird thing is we won. We didn't win because we occupied the president's office. We won because decades of activists had struggled, of course, in South Africa, in so many ways, and in the diaspora and in solidarity. And we just got to be the lucky generation. That after they had banged their heads on this seemingly immovable force of this door that would not open, we tapped the door and it opened. And so I want to offer you a couple of blessings, a couple of wishes. One is just protection, that this beautiful space and the gentleness with which you've treated each other, the care that has gone into building this culture, be treated as the precious space that it is. And that this university, who has been on the wrong side of history way too many times, does not do it once again and meet this beauty, this care, this morality, this courage with brute force. Because my oh my, would that be a bad look. And we will not let it pass. I also want to offer you a wish, a blessing, a prayer, that you feel something of what we felt. when we learned that the university had divested, and then a couple months after that Nelson Mandela was free, and then a few months after that he was speaking just down the road, and then a few years after that there would be elections. I don't want to say it was a utopia, but I want you to feel that sense of possibility. I want you to breathe that oxygen. I want you to have that blue sky. You know, this generation has been betrayed by their elders, by their elites on so many fronts. They're inheriting a burning climate. They were not kept safe during COVID. They were not prioritized. And they should not be crushed for the fact that they have greater morality than the people who claim to be leaders. So I want us to all send that protection and that wish for you that you win. Thank you.
Before I bless the bread, I want to offer a prayer for healing. And so to make this prayer, I'm going to ask something of all of you. There's a tradition when we bless the challah that either you touch the challah or you consensually touch somebody who is touching the challah. So that might be a shoulder or a hand, and you can ask first. So I'm going to get everybody to come up and either touch the challah or consensually touch someone who's touching the challah.
Wonderful.
It's been so nice to be part of this and to witness all of the beautiful things happening all over the world in deep solidarity. We wish you all well. Thank you so much for all that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you. You are inspiring us. You are welcome to stay on with us for many more hours to come. We appreciate everything you've done. Keep doing it. We will go to, let's see. We will go to starting up part 6 of the 24-hour Peace Wave. These are 2-hour parts. So part 6 will get us to the midpoint of the 24-hour Peace Wave to 12 hours. We're 10 hours in now. I am going to, as we do with each of these parts, stop recording and stop restreaming to social media channels. So if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, get ready to find the new stream for the next 2 hours. We're making this in 2-hour pieces. You can't do 24-hour videos on these social media channels. So I'm stopping and restarting.